Week 2 in Major League Soccer and 13 fixtures to get stuck into. As ever, we'll have the goals and the talking points from every game, including Inter Miami's visit to the Philadelphia Union. But we begin in the West in Denver, where an MLS original welcomed the league's newest arrival.
After a goalless draw in Dallas last week, the Colorado Rapids faced Texan opponents again, this time expansion side Austin FC, who were awaiting their first ever points in MLS. Commentary comes from Chris Wise.
Some space for Bassett to canter into. Rubio is the only one with him. He's back towards Bassett, and then Rubio, who was not too far away. Sat up very sweetly for Diego Rubio to strike. It is Texas part 2 for Robin Fraser's side. They drew 0-0 with Dallas in their opener last weekend. Tinta Shinyashiki, who has the opening goal for Colorado. The Rapids' first goal of the season, provided by their Brazilian. And it was very straightforward. For Dominguez, who hits the top of the bar, and Cascante can't force it in. Yarbrough was beaten, flummoxed the goalkeeper. It's Dominguez again, who looks a lively sort in this Austin side. Pereira, and now Stroud, and Diego Fagundes! An historic moment for Austin FC. Their first ever goal scored by Diego Fagundes. The Uruguayan, a regular face in MLS, but the new boy about town in Texas. Well, Wolves' team are making the noises now. Stolen back by Fagundes. And this is Gallagher, and Dominguez, 2-1. They have turned it around. Austin FC lead at the Colorado Rapids. And how brilliantly it was taken as well by Cecilio Dominguez. Lovely touch by Dominguez again. This is Kulmanic. And Dominguez, and deflected in. Austin FC have another one. 3 goals in 12 devastating minutes. A first ever MLS win for Austin FC.
After last season's disappointing campaign, the LA Galaxy's expectations were raised under new coach Greg Vanney after coming from behind to beat Inter Miami last week. It certainly helps when you've got a player like Chicharito on your roster, first to anticipate Ethan Zubak's cross shot, adding to his 2 goals on week 1. The New York Red Bulls were level before half-time though. Off-season loan signing from Atlanta Andrew Gutman and Brian White combining, White setting up Gutman for his first ever goal in MLS. Gerhard Struber's trying to implement a return to the trademark high-pressing football of years gone by. Christian Cáceres' anticipation almost led to a second, but Bond came to the rescue. Jonathan Bond, saving from new signing Fabio. In 12 regular season appearances last year, Chicharito only managed 2 goals. In a game and a half in 2021, he'd already doubled that tally. It went to review, but the former Manchester United and Real Madrid striker was onside when Victor Vasquez crossed. The goal eventually given, and that wouldn't be the last of his celebrations either. Just before the hour, Julian Araujo's inviting delivery led to another poacher's finish. 5 goals in 2 games and the Mexican's 4th career hat-trick. An early season golden boot shout perhaps. The Red Bulls were heading towards a 2nd straight defeat. They did make it 3-2 with a scrambled set piece touched in by Cáceres, but the team appear to still be in early season transition.
The Galaxy's city rivals LAFC had the Seattle Sounders at their home and on the back foot within 85 seconds. Eduardo Atuesta took advantage of what would be considered an old-fashioned wall these days. Sneaky, though his execution sublime to beat Stefan Frei. Seattle eliminated Bob Bradley's side from the playoffs in both 2019 and 2020, and the pair are likely to be duelling for Western Conference supremacy this year too. Christian Roldan a few inches away from providing the Sounders with a first-half equaliser. A full plethora of attacking options wasn't available to either side. No Carlos Vela or Diego Rossi for LAFC, nor Nicolas Ladero for Seattle. So cue an alternative source for goals. With a shaved head and scoring prowess, you'd be forgiven for not recognising Brad Smith. This was the fullback's very first MLS goal.
Staying in California, and the San Jose Earthquakes were looking to extend their unbeaten streak against FC Dallas to 7 games. They were given a chance from the spot when Christian Espinoza won a penalty, caught by winger Hada Obrian. The club's record signing took on the responsibility himself.
Espinoza approaches the penalty, and it's saved by Maurer.
Jimmy Maurer continuing his fine form from last weekend after a number of crucial saves against the Colorado Rapids. But unlike that goalless draw, a clean sheet would elude him when just 13 minutes later, the Earthquakes were handed another penalty, waved away by the referee, but given on video review, handball by Tanner Tessman. This time, Osvaldo Alanis took it. Too much power for Maurer. The MLS Millennials have certainly been making their mark in the opening weeks of the season. Teenager Kate Cowell's wonderful piece of vision set up Espinoza to make amends for his penalty miss with a well-taken goal. Cowell doesn't even turn 18 until October, but he's already got 2 MLS goals now. This was a performance to remember.
What a finish! 17 years of age for Kate Cowell. No problem.
There were no more goals for those fans to celebrate, although Dallas did get their first of the new season. Another teenager, Ricardo Pepi, following up for a consolation. And the game would end in frustration for San Jose when the league's all-time leading scorer, Chris Wondolowski, gave away a rather needless free kick. Initially a yellow, but on review his challenge on Jose Martinez earned the 38-year-old only the second red card of his glittering MLS career.
Portland welcomed Dallas's Texan rivals, the Houston Dynamo, to Providence Park, with the Timbers still looking for their first points and goals of the new season. The wait for one of those lasted no longer than a further 6 minutes. Dairon Asprilla appropriately marked the occasion too. The Dynamo, meanwhile, had beaten San Jose in their opener 8 days previous. They've already got a different feel to them compared to the side that ended the last campaign with a whimper, though the equaliser before the half-hour mark wasn't provided by one of their own. The Timbers' Christian Paredes applied the unfortunate final touch. The Paraguayan hadn't scored one at the right end for 21 months, but making amends was high on his agenda.
Paredes! A spectacular goal from the Timbers! They're up 2-1!
Same net, far more meaningful contact. Paredes' teammate Diego Valeri is a far more frequent contributor to the Timbers' goal tally. His late miss was uncharacteristic, but for the Dynamo, another South American had ensured the damage was already done.
Terrible start to the season for Minnesota United, losing 4-0 in Seattle last weekend, but the home supporters thought they had a Robin Lurd goal to celebrate. That proved premature as it hit the side netting. Real Salt Lake have already won silverware, lifting the pre-season visit to Sun Cup. And having started the new season a week later than everyone else, Anderson Julio finished an attack that he started from his own half to mark his MLS debut with a goal. And Chase Gasper's poor back pass handed RSL a second before half-time. Rubio Rabin pouncing to provide the perfect assist for Ecuadorian Julio to score his second and put his team on course to end a 7-match winless run against Minnesota. The scoreline could have been even more comfortable had Justin Glad's header not been kept out by Dane St Clair. Adrian Heath was furious with Real Salt Lake keeper David Ochoa for time wasting in the second half, while defender Michael Boxall called him a clown. Ochoa was beaten once though. Lured this time did finish, adding to his 2 goals when these sides met in September, but Ochoa had the last laugh.
A cross-conference encounter at Children's Mercy Park, one that promised plenty between Sporting Kansas City and Orlando City, and delivered accordingly. Nicolas Isimat-Marin's bravery to launch himself at a rebound went unrewarded early on. Video review identified the defender in an offside position from Remy Walters' free kick. Peter Vermees is now in his 13th season as coach at SKC, and he's probably seen a fair few oddities during that time, but not many like the one that was developing here. Benji Michel shocked to see an offside flag raised against him after cleverly scoring for Orlando, but again, the call was correct. How the visitors longed for technology to intervene just before the break, though. A messy piece of routine defending was punished by Gianluca Buzio's accurate finish. SKC in front at half-time. Orlando had controlled the opening 45 minutes, and via Andres Pereira, they finally levelled at the start of the second period, or so they thought. The 20-year-old denied his first MLS goal, and it's not that Oscar Pereira could be particularly vexed about it all either. This had just been a series of misfortunate events, and then one that was purely masterful. Nani's back heel to score was cheeky, classy, and incredibly, it was initially chalked off. But thankfully, the Orlando magic wasn't wasted. The initial offside decision was overturned. In a game that felt like it was forever restarting, this was a goal that stopped everyone in their tracks. Next up, the Philadelphia Union, who made Subaru Park a fortress on their way to last year's Supporters' Shield.
Wagner, teasing volley, yes! Goal! Sergio Santos came flying through Union lead.
Into Miami, their opponents, a side in search of their first points of the new MLS season.
Puts it on a plate, and Robinson cannot miss the first goal for Inter Miami in 2021.
Prior to kick-off, an opportunity to show off about last year's Shield success, the first silverware in the Union's history. Calling this one, Phil Blacker.
It was carelessly given away by Glesnes, and here's the chance for Robinson, and thwarted only by the frame of the goal. Well, it was gifted to him, but he very nearly took full advantage with a thumping effort. Shabilko is going to get there. Is the flag going to stay down? It was flashed across the face of goal from Kacper Shabilko. And a big chance in the context of what we've seen so far. Sergio Santos, can he get his shot away? Battling for a second attempt to do so. Shabilko, Matuidi was with him. Jamiro Montero! And the Union lead! And it's their main man at the start of this season, Jamiro Montero, who steps up to score. Crucial goal for Kurt Inside. And the pressure at the start of this second period is rewarded by their designated player. Now Chapman. Squares it for Gregory. Flock who's with him. Wagner with the initial challenge, then Leon Flock, and it's that one that's been penalised. But can Inter Miami inflict some of their own punishments? Federico Higuain. by Higuain and in. One Higuain to the other eventually. And Gonzalo's got his goal, it's 1-1. And he had unfinished business coming back here. Gonzalo Higuain, after the missed penalty on debut 7 months ago, scores in successive games at the start of the new season. It is Nico Figueroa that's gone to right back. Will take on Wagner here. Morgan helping him out as well, gets on the end of it. And teases it forward for Figueroa, who's done well. Can he find something at the end of it? It's Higuain! And Miami have turned it around! Federico made the first and scores the second. And Phil Neville closing in on a first MLS win. Real credit to Figueroa for his patience in the build-up. And it was an awkward one for Federico Higuain. Leaning backwards, but got enough on it to guide it perfectly across Blake and into the corner. Full-time score at Subaru Park. Philadelphia Union 1, Inter Miami 2.
This is only just the start of the journey for us. We know we've got miles more to give, miles more quality, miles more consistency in our play. I do believe there's another 20-30% to come from us. I'm not getting carried away at all.
Coming up, a set-piece masterclass from Ronnie Dyler's side. For the first time in 577 days, there were soccer fans inside Yankee Stadium, and they were given a day to remember. Jesus Medina set New York City FC on their way with a goal after just 6 minutes. The last time these supporters were here, NYCFC scored 4 against Atlanta, and the atmosphere was certainly raising the performance levels. Medina's corner this time, and Maxime Chanot celebrated number 2. FC Cincinnati thought there was a foul on Cody Cropper. It was given as a Nick Hagland own goal. Yapstam must have been cringing at his side's defending. Gudmundur Thorarinson's free kick deceiving Cropper, and inside 57 minutes they were on course for their first win of the season. The Icelandic international with an impressive first goal in his second season with the franchise. With a new stadium and some decent investment, a new season brought new hope for Cincinnati. Tati Castellanos was awarded the 4th goal as it went in off Hagland again. And if that suggests it might be another struggle for the side who'd finished bottom of the pile for the last 2 years, how's your luck here?
Sean Johnson is just unbeatable.
Big money signing Brenner and Tom Pettersson somehow kept out. The 5th goal was the best of the lot from another set piece.
Now Medina takes the shot. What a goal! Jesus Medina!
For the 4th time, NYCFC had scored 4 goals or more against Cincinnati, who'd suffered their worst loss since going down 7-1 to Minnesota in 2019. Ismail Tajuri-Shradi also struck the post, but this was his team's biggest win since joining MLS.
Over 21,000 were in attendance at Mercedes-Benz Stadium as the Chicago Fire visited Atlanta United's home, and Przemysław Frankowski certainly startled the masses early on, but Atlanta had something to get them all on their feet.
Ezekiel, Barco straight into the wall. Wants it again, Barco! Wow!
Once the Fire had made peace with being unable to prevent Atlanta's opener, they came again. Robert Beric close to adding a second to his season's tally after scoring in Chicago's opening weekend draw with the Revs. And the threats weren't without substance. Less than 60 seconds after the restart, Luka Stojanovic did score his second of the campaign to haul the visitors level. Atlanta weren't just trading in spectacular goals though, they very much welcomed scrappy ones too. Chicago's Johan Kappelhoff knew very little of the contact that led to his own goal, though goalkeeper Bobby Shuttleworth won't be best pleased with his own role. Gabriel Heinze's first MLS victory as Atlanta coach never felt like a safe bet though. Beric spotted Brad Guzan had strayed off his line and probably deserved more for his inventiveness. But the Fire's hopes of a second equaliser were extinguished in the final 5 minutes. Jake Mulroney tried to tiptoe through Chicago's backline with what would have been another special Atlanta goal before Emerson Hyman crashed in his team's 3rd to a roar heard right across Georgia.
He may not have the gravitas of Thierry Henry, but long-time assistant Wilfried Nancy has certainly made an impact at the rebranded Club de Foot Montréal. Mason Toye, with a strangely similar goal to the one he scored in last week's win over Toronto, put them in front in Nashville. This head coach business was starting to look easy.
Broguiard will race forward, as we know that he likes to. Kyoto furthest forward, Toye calling for it as well. Broguiard goes himself! Oh, how about that?
Into his third season now, and that was Zachary Broguiard's first goal. It's often said 2-0 is a dangerous lead, and when Ramel Kyoto was sent through, this miss would prove to be a turning point in the game. Nashville had already come from 2 behind to draw with FC Cincinnati on the opening weekend. So when Randall Leal crossed for John de Cadiz to score, the Music City had found its voice again. Cadiz has now scored in his last 3 regular season matches running, and he really should have had another. This time, his header was off target. But Nashville did hit the high note with 13 minutes to go. Ironically, it was a Canadian international, Alistair Johnston, who started the move.
Johnston, 4 in yellow, hangs it towards CJ Sapong with a header, comes back towards Mukhtar with a strike! Nashville have done it again!
Hani Mukhtar's 5th goal since joining the franchise, making him their current all-time leading scorer. Nashville made the playoffs in their MLS debut year despite winning just 1 of their first 6 games. David Romney was so close to a winner here. With a bit of fine-tuning, Gary Smith's side look as though they could be contenders again. And there was another huge let-off for Montreal when Clement Diop came and missed the ball. The goalkeeper rescued by the post once more. Alex Muriel couldn't add a dramatic winner, but Nashville are never short on entertainment.
After that crushing defeat to Montreal last week, it was another all-Canadian affair for Toronto, who hosted Vancouver at Orlando's Exploria Stadium, their temporary base. This one started far more brightly for TFC, Luke Singh with a straightforward finish for his first MLS goal. But the Canadian connection got too close for comfort in the second half. Lucas Cavallini caught by Richie Laryea, teammates on the international scene with Canada. Colombian Christian Dajome comprehensive with the penalty that followed for the Whitecaps, his 4th since joining the club in 2020. And 15 minutes after that, Vancouver led. Andy Rose with his first in MLS for almost 2 years. And it was 3 years since the Whitecaps last secured back-to-back victories at the start of a regular season. The writers had barely had time to start working that statistic into their copy before Toronto struck back, but how fortunate they were to do so. A horrible moment in the visitors' defence allowed Jonathan Osorio to squeeze in for 2-2. The frantic nature of the game carried right through to the last kick. TFC could have won it via Jacob Schaffelberg just moments later, but Maxime Crepeau excelled at his near post to deny him. And not to be outdone at the other end, Alex Bono then made a brilliant 94th minute save to stop substitute Ryan Raposo from stealing all 3 points for the Whitecaps. A long way from home, but plenty of courage from the Canadian duo.
To our final game, and the New England Revolution's Bruce Arena came up against one of his former teams, DC United. Having ended last year so well, big things are expected of his current side this year, but they needed an own goal to go in front. Brandon Bye's cross turned in by Brandon Heinz-Eyck, signed by Hernan Losada. After both had spent time managing and playing in Belgium, it's already been an interesting start to life back out of Europe. The defender scored at the right end last week. The Revs nearly returned the compliment. DC have no fewer than 11 players missing through injury, so maybe they took pity. Andrew Farrell met Julian Gressel's inviting ball, but he was grateful to survive that scare. Arena predicts better performances will come after grinding out the win.
So New England, one of 3 teams at the top of the Eastern Conference, locked on 4 points after 2 games. At the other end, the New York Red Bulls are the only side in the East yet to get off the mark.
The same goes for Minnesota United at the bottom of the Western Conference standings, who've begun 2021 with back-to-back defeats. The LA Galaxy, though, are out ahead on their own, having taken maximum points in their opening 2 fixtures.
It was a case of something new for the weekend. A first MLS hat-trick for Chicharito. Never before have siblings scored in the same MLS fixture.
Goal! So not one Higuain, but 2 have scored tonight.
And the brothers in arms in Austin, who have their first ever MLS win.
Austin FC are in dreamland.
This copyrighted broadcast of Major League Soccer may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.